Defense News. It's proudly sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're a member of our nation's armed forces, the Department of Defense, or if your family is, we'd be proud to serve you too.
On this special edition of Defense News Weekly, we look at the recent C4ISR Conference. We welcomed experts from industry and the DoD to discuss the evolving approach to national security in the digital age, as we bring you the latest in news and analysis from the Pentagon to the platoon, here on Defense News Weekly.
Our first session for the event today will focus on cyber strategy and how it's being recalibrated based on the new White House's recent priorities and, of course, emerging threats. My guest is Leslie Beavers. Leslie is Principal Deputy CIO for the Department of Defense. Leslie joins me now. Leslie, it is great to have you. Thank you so much for taking the time generously to kick things off for our conference today.
JD, thank you so much for the invitation, and thanks to the viewers. I'm really looking forward to today's discussion.
So let's start with a bit of a big picture view, Leslie, if we can. Talk to me about the strategies you feel can really effectively be deployed to harden networks and enhance warning capabilities overall.
Yeah, let me start out with a quick scene setter and chat about what the Department of Defense is trying to secure. And that is an entire global infrastructure, not with just the United States military, but also with our allies and partners. And what that generates is a one-to-N interoperability challenge it's an enormous scale. If you think about our traditional cybersecurity and how we do identity management, we do trust negotiations between different organizations, but when you take that to the one-to-N, it becomes absolutely untenable to do. So the digital foundation and creating a secure digital foundation is what is really important for the department to enable this resilience at the global scale. And when you think about a digital foundation, there's a few pieces to it. There's the digital data platform, the actual infrastructure that connects everything together. So that's the digital foundation, which includes services like relay, ingest, analytics, apps, compute, access and distribution, that kind of thing. And then there's the actual test and the preparation, like a sandbox type of an environment that you can test things before you actually put them in the digital foundation. So various pieces of that are being built out in the department today. And the role of the CIO within the department is really to synchronize and simplify the work that we're doing across the department so that we end up with enterprise services. It's kind of a misnomer to think of the DoD CIO as sitting on top of an organization. We actually sit on top of an economy or a global ecosystem. And so it's a challenge, and we know that our processes take too long, but we are making headway. And Zero Trust, I think, has been foundational to that progress because that enables us to do that mesh environment, that multi-cloud mesh network that remains secure. So we're very excited about the progress being made on the Zero Trust front. Across the department, I'm seeing a hybrid approach to its development and adoption. So some of it's going into commercial cloud, some of it's on-prem data, and some of it's going into private government cloud. And we're uplifting our capabilities. It just depends. Like I said, we're an ecosystem, so we need it all. And then the other piece is we don't fight alone. So our industrial base, it's equally important to secure our industrial base. And the progress that we're making on the cybersecurity maturity model certification, which is just making sure that we all dot our I's and cross our T's and do the security requirements and secure our own networks across the industrial base as well, are equally important. So, and I just like to highlight anytime I get a chance to talk to industry that the threat isn't just against the department. We are losing an estimated of $100 million a day in intellectual property and data to the adversaries out of our industrial base. So it's a colossal problem, but together we can actually make a difference by securing our networks.
Leslie, you mentioned zero trust, and that's a phrase increasingly of use to the broader cybersecurity space. I'm hoping you could drill down a little bit more on that, even a broad strokes definition for some of our viewers who might be a bit unfamiliar either with the phrase zero trust or really how it fits into your overall goals for that digital foundation you just spoke about.
Yes, happy to. So traditionally, we built networks and we secured at the perimeter, and we weren't really paying attention to what was happening inside the network. Zero trust is the pivot away from that to basically tagging the people, tagging the data, and doing the auditing so that you know what's going on in your network all the time. So nothing in the network is trusted. It's constant authentication. To that end, we stood up a zero trust portfolio management office led by Randy Resnick and identified 152 capabilities that, when stitched together, give you ultimate kind of zero trust. We're in the department making sure that we get to a target level zero trust by 2020. And that's the 91 capabilities, kind of basic capabilities. And that includes things like your identity credential and access management, your auditing. There's a number, your policy enforcement points. There's a number of technical solutions that are identified. And you can't, the important point that Randy always gets on me to double stomp is that you can't do those capabilities independently. They have to work together. Synchronization, like I said, it's an interoperability. And so when you bring all of those capabilities together, you then have a secure environment. And so if and when, because it's really kind of when somebody attacks and gets in, you identify them quickly and can take remediation steps.
Leslie, what does success look like in terms of overall cyber resilience at the DoD, and how are you and your colleagues effectively able to measure progress in that effort?
So cyber resilience means that you are able to maintain your connectivity in your communications and your information and your data through a DDIL kind of an environment. So denied, diminished, intermittent, or limited access. And you also are maintaining the integrity of your environment so that you don't have bad actors in it. And to that end, the Zero Trust, the CMMC, and then we're also bringing our allies and partners along. NATO is in the process of working on a Zero Trust policy as well, and we've been coordinating closely with the Five Eyes, which are the U.S., the UK, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, to make sure, like I said, this is a giant cooperation problem. Our technology can do this, but we as a department have to, and as a community, have to decide to cooperate on the policy and the engineering level. And then we also have to upgun our talent so that we have expertise monitoring the network at the right level, because the expertise required to understand what's happening on the wide area network is one thing. The expertise that's required to understand and defend what's happening on your local area network is a little bit different. So we're also we've established the Cyber Accepted Service, which is a workflow, which is a workforce that is managed out of the CIO to define the roles and responsibilities and create credentialing for those roles and responsibilities so that we have the right expertise in the department that we can align at the right level. And now we're also looking at the cybersecurity service providers, the RMF process, which is the risk management framework, on how we are defending the network. And when I think about this problem and securing the network, I'm thinking about identifying the vulnerabilities that exist and reducing the number of vulnerabilities, and then also enabling the quick identification of new or zero-day kind of vulnerabilities and taking immediate action on those as well. And that's a very cooperative process.
When we come back, how current conflicts are shaping cyber readiness. Stay tuned.
What lessons from current conflicts have most directly influenced how the military is approaching cyber readiness today? Leslie, I'd imagine there's a lot that you actively learn with each new conflict, either for the United States or around the globe. And that process of information gathering and then making the processes that much sharper has to be a key part of the evolution of this type of technology. I'm hoping you could talk to us a little bit more about those learned lessons from those conflicts and what that means for adapting your path moving forward.
Yeah, we have learned a lot and continue to learn a lot. And the war of the future is not going to be solely kinetic. There is going on right now the cyber. There's a lot of activity in cyberspace. If anybody's paid attention to Salt Typhoon, Volt Typhoon, and then of course the Russians are pretty active as well. So what we've learned from Ukraine is the importance of having apps and compute and the ability to do software development at the edge. And with that in mind, we've put in the JOE clouds, the Joint Operational Edge clouds. We've got a couple of them installed out in the Pacific. We've got a couple more being developed and a couple more about to go into the EUCOM, AFRICOM, CENTCOM area, because we need to put together that digital foundation that enables the warfighter to receive the national level, the enterprise level information, data, services, apps, tools, all of that as if they were sitting here in the United States when they are actually located somewhere across the globe, and also to do it in conjunction with our allies and partners. So there's been a resurgence in the effort on all sides, and I would say just about every nation, to actually deliberately come together and establish the standards required to share data, to do the interoperability on the developing our environment. So the mission partner environment is our kind of ubiquitous term for our network that we use to share classified information, operational information with our allies and partners. And we have been working over the last year very diligently, once again, with those 5 Is to kind of solve the tough engineering problems, starting with the identity, credential, and access management piece in a federated way, because it doesn't scale if everybody has to come into the US environment and get their own identity, their own logins. Then you end up with like 4 or 5 different computers on your desk if you're doing a different computer for each network. That just is not working. So the answer to that is the Zero Trust cloud, right? With allies and partners, and that machine-to-machine data speed. And we have that prototype out at sea right now. It's on the UK carrier, the HMS Prince of Wales, and it's got 4 different clouds, multi-vendor. So this is a zero trust commercial, multi-cloud, multi-vendor environment. We've got allies and partners from NATO, from 5 Eyes, and non-NATO working in that environment. And so we are learning a lot on the operational employment and how that will actually work for the warfighter. We've been testing it the last year, but we're really excited. That deployment is going on between now and the end of December. And so we're not losing any time. We're moving out. We're figuring out how to work together. And I guess one of the things that I like to highlight as well is it was a surprise to me, although probably it shouldn't have been. It was a surprise to me the level of engineering effort that had to happen, not just on the United States side, but on everybody's side. So all of the other partner nations as well. So we're starting to move into the NATO direction, and they're going to have some engineering efforts and uplift that's going to need to happen on the NATO side to make everything work together, to bring us into the modern age.
So grateful for your time. You undoubtedly brought such tremendous value to our viewers for the event today. Thanks for kicking things off with us. Great to have you.
Great to see you, JD. Thank you.
When we come back, our financial expert returns to help you prepare for the true cost of home ownership. Stay tuned.
Buying a home is epic. First-time buyers usually can't wait to start house hunting. But before you hit the neighborhood, it's important to know more than just the asking price to really grasp the cost of owning a home. There are upfront costs to think about: your down payment, home inspection, and closing costs. These can include appraisal fees, taxes, insurance, and loan processing fees. And don't forget about moving costs. Once you're settled in, there are monthly expenses beyond your mortgage payment to consider. Property taxes, insurance, and HOA fees. Depending on where you live, you might also need flood or hazard insurance. Plus, there's upkeep, repairs, and possibly renovations. Even the best laid plans can hit bumps in the road. So dream big, but be real about what you can afford safely now and all the years ahead in your new home.
To get more coverage of military and defense topics, grab your AI-powered robot dog and head to militarytimes.com and defensenews.com. And to be the most up-to-date vet at this year's reunion, sign up for our early bird brief, compiled each morning bringing you the most recent headlines. And if social media is how you stay up to date, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and X. And for you Gen Z troops, we're on TikTok, so go find us there as well. When we come back, the expanding role of AI in both cybersecurity and defense. Don't go away.
Welcome back, one and all. Next up, I would like to introduce our panel of experts this time, now for a discussion on emerging technology, as well as the role of artificial intelligence in both cybersecurity as well as defense. AI, what a crucial topic. My guests for this session are Jonathan Elliott. He is the acting director of the AI Rapid Capabilities Cell at CDAO. Matt Turek is here. He's deputy director of the Information Innovation Office at DARPA, and also Rachel Bondi. Ms. Bondi is the technical director of the Cybersecurity Program Office for PEO C4I. Mr. Elliott, Mr. Turek, Ms. Bondi, it is great to have each and every one of you to join us here for our second event today. Thank you all so much.
Happy to be here.
All right, awesome. Ms. Bondi, let me kick things off with you. Talk to me about one place where you think AI is already making an active difference today, and one frontier maybe you would like to see it pushed a little further into the future.
Yes, for us, I came in from industry, so I don't have a federal or military background. I was working with Eric Schmidt on Geosphere and Vint Cerf on DeepMind over at Google, and then at IBM with Grady Broach and John Kelly on Watson. So when I arrived here, I was taking a look at how military systems were not prepared for being data-centric. And so much of the AI solution set is data-centric. We have been able to actually deploy AI cybersecurity within our new systems for Zero Trust, and it's working today. At first, we started on shore, then we worked it into ships, then we worked it into unmanned systems. And it allows us to take a look at lay and wait attacks and transversing network attacks in a way that we weren't able to with traditional security. What I would like to see more of is for us to continue to shift from network centricity to data centricity.
Okay, I appreciate that. Mr. Elliott, from where you sit at CDAO's AI Rapid Capabilities Cell, I wonder what makes a capability rapid enough to actually earn the title of rapid? How does that sort of pacing look like from where you're positioned?
Yeah, so I think the ARC was created this past December and January to focus on frontier AI and pushing forward the adoption of frontier AI and generative AI technologies into the DoD. So the Rapid is more a hallmark to our mission to make sure that the DoD does not lag behind, where we've seen industry adopt and use successfully a lot of these generative technologies. And I think there are many examples of use and benefit to the DoD. Just one is, as we've seen with industry, general use of tools like generative AI chatbots like ChatGPT, Claude is examples where you can now ask anybody at their desk can now have this tool there to help them research, summarize information, write for them. You see massive productivity gains from that, as well as also for scenarios like helping with cybersecurity or writing code and doing code debugging, or processing the large amounts of information that the DoD receives that we can't process now because we're manpower limited, and help making our warfighters more effective by taking that deluge and summarizing it down into actionable movements forward.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Mr. Turek, I want to bring you into this conversation. Grateful for you as well, and of course your work at DARPA. How are you actively balancing high-risk experimentation with real-world application at DARPA? What does that kind of careful balance look like for you?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for the opportunity to be here. Just to level set a little bit, DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, we have the singular mission of preventing or creating strategic surprise. That's the lens through which we look at any potential investment that we make in things like AI and cyber. One of the things that we're doing to rapidly move from transformative research capabilities all the way through into operational use is an effort that we call Constellation, which is actually a partnership with Cybercom that allows us to identify early stage transformational research capabilities, package them up in a way that might be operationally useful for Cybercom, agree upon evaluation metrics, run those experiments to either support or refute the performance capabilities, and use that as a mechanism to span the valley of death and then hand them off to Cybercom. Those agreed upon metrics are really the trigger for Cybercom continuing to invest in that technology to take it the final mile, to integrate it into operational systems, and then to use it operationally. So sometimes DARPA's innovations aren't just the technology, they're the new processes, and Constellation is a good example of that.
Ms. Bondi, I want to kick the conversation back to you, and I'm really focused on what it looks like to collaborate across agencies. So I'll phrase a version of this question, I believe, to all of you. But Ms. Bondi, how are you collaborating across different agencies, maybe specifically with some commercial players, knowing that you need to accelerate smart, secure artificial intelligence, but you need to do it in an effective way, and of course, you need to do it in a way that doesn't really completely reinvent the wheel?
Yes, for us, we're standing up a rapid capability office, and we're working with outside partners, DIU, AFWorks, and others. I recently was in South by Southwest talks in Austin about that exact thing, about how we could kind of crowdsource our efforts. And I think for me, it's dividing the mission sets. So we have securing the enterprise, surviving the war, and then what I call stability or GRC compliance use cases for cybersecurity, and understanding which is the mission focus for us is how we're approaching the human in the loop piece of working with AI to accelerate each of those mission sets with those partners. Commercial technologies is our aim. So I'm working with different providers on not only large language models, but small language models for specific use cases. And as we mentioned, data is there's so many pieces of data for cybersecurity and cybersecurity alerts that we really do need to use this in a human-centric point of view to help our operators, even if they're operating unmanned craft.
Well, that's all we have time for in this episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.